It seems that now that Gem has unfortunately left us, someone else must step up to the bat to save this video. And in that absence, I have been summoned. Who am I? That's not important. We'll figure that out later. What is important, however, is that someone needs to speak about Pokemon Legends Arceus, and I am the one who has been summoned to take this task. But I will not be speaking of any mere thing about Pokemon Legends Arceus. No, I'm going to be speaking to you about the most important part of the story. I'm going to be speaking to you about the single most important thing in the Pokemon franchise as a whole. Perhaps the most important thing in any media franchise as a whole. I, of course, speak about none other than the best character in the game. The only character that matters in the game. Irida. Now, you might be wondering, who is Irida? And why are you telling me that I have to care about her so much? Well, to answer the latter question, I'm telling you because if you don't care about her, I am going to come to your house. But we'll worry about that detail later. That's not really important. What is important, however, is that you learn about Irida. Now, Irida is the leader of the Pearl Clan. The Pearl Clan is a clan within Hisui that worships the Almighty Sinnoh that created space, believing that that is what the Almighty Sinnoh did. Opposing the Diamond Clan, who believes that the Almighty Sinnoh created time. They're wrong. I don't know why they believe that. That's really stupid of them, but I digress. Now, in the main story, we are introduced to Irida as she is speaking with a character well below her. I don't know why she's talking to him, but the leader of the Diamond Clan. They're having a bit of a bicker, they don't really like each other that much. Irida is being right in stating that Almighty Sinnoh created space, not time, and Adaman, being the complete fucking moron that he is, decides to keep rambling on about, no, it's time. Yeah, okay, dumbass, whatever. Anyways, you later get introduced to Irida as the player character. She turns to you and states that caution and foresight are her watchwords. She's telling you that she is a leader that is cautious, yet she likes to look ahead. That's a good signs of a leader, I think, but, of course, there are some issues with that we get into later. Now, when she initially meets you as the player, she's a little distrusting of you, which is understanding. There's been a lot of stuff that's been happening, and you're just someone that's fallen from the sky. Not only that, but you're someone that's being told to deal with the issue at hand, which is the matter of the frenzied noble Pokemon, Lord Kleavor, the Lord of the Woods. He's gone insane. You have to do something. Someone has to do something, and they call you to do it. She's initially a little distrusting, which is, again, a good quality of a leader. This is a serious issue for the Pearl Clan, a large group of people that worship space, who spread far and wide across Hisui. Obviously, putting their faith into a complete stranger is something that's a little unusual for her. But you know what? She's able to accept it, and meanwhile, complete dumbass idiot Adaman, who deserves to explode immediately, but I digress. He's the one that says that, well, she's not a good leader, she's so fresh to this. Yeah, go fuck yourself, buddy. Whatever. I digress. Now, we get into the important part of Irida's character here. Before that, though, I think it is important to address how good of an introduction this is for her. Introducing Irida as someone who is cautious and shows foresight really helps to display her character almost immediately, even before when we were seeing her argue about, what she believes in. She strongly believes in what she believes in, and this is something else she believes in, that caution and foresight are important things to keep in mind. Even if she is fresh to this, even if she is learning, that gives us a good idea of who she is, especially with her distrust in the player. She's cautious about this because she has no idea what to make of this. You're someone that fell from the sky and now is being told to deal with this situation. You've been here for like less than a day, not even, and now you're being told to deal with this amazing situation that nobody else has been able to deal with in all of Hisui. Of course she's not going to put trust into that because she has no idea what to make of it, even with others around her being able to put trust into that. But in due time, she does learn. But we get into that in just a moment. So, you get to Grand Tree Arena, and you fight the Warden of Kleavor, who is Leon. Leon is initially distrusting in you as well, but he's able to battle you, and he gets a bit of a better idea. Irida is there as well, however, wanting to assist. and she tells you to go find some materials that might be able to calm Lord Cleavor, especially because the suggestion of using those items to calm Lord Cleavor is something that she admits, that's a pretty good idea. But when you get back, she's changed. She has a new resolve. She has to do something. And she chooses to battle you. And obviously, she loses because, you're the player character. That's how a video game goes, of course. But in that battle, she's able to see how you command your Pokemon. She's able to see that you love and care for them. The Pokeballs that she initially dismissed in her original discussion with you, which I didn't even mention, the fact that she dislikes Pokeballs so greatly. The fact that she is now on your side about that shows that she is able to recognize that someone has conviction or has that power, has that ability. And in that moment, she is able to put her trust into you. In fact, not only just that, but after you calm Lord Cleavor's frenzy, she apologizes. She owns up to her mistake, and she gives you a gift of apology. She admits her faults, and she is able to grow from them slightly. She says, yes, I messed up. I made a bad judgment of you. I hope you can forgive me, and even if not, I would like to give you this as thanks. I think that's something that is incredibly good of her to do. I really like that. I think that's a very good thing. But I digress. Now, unfortunately, Irida is not in the second part of the game, in the Crimson Mirelands, which is a shame, because that is a very good part, and I think Irida would have made it even better. She is loosely mentioned here and there, but we don't get to see her all that much there, if at all. Which is, again, very unfortunate, but that's not important. What is important is they know that they missed out on putting the best character in the game in that second half, and they make up for it tenfold with the Cobalt Coastlands. Now, when you get to the Cobalt Coastlands, Irida is there. She's probably like the second or third person you see, because she's immediately there. In fact, she has been waiting there for you. She's standing out there, looking out at the sky, and she pulls out her flute, and she begins to play. She plays a gentle tune. It's helping her to feel at one with the space within Hisui. And then she closes her eyes and says that she wants to battle you. And battle you she does. In fact, she's a little bit stronger than she was before. Her Glaceon is a bit more powered up, and I believe she has an Eevee with her. I don't remember that off the top of my head, but I digress. She does lose that battle as well, however, and she says to the player that space is grand, but she is small. Something along those lines. I'm paraphrasing a bit, but she says that the world is vast and she is small within it. She seems a little somber, but at the same time, that has helped her to kind of center herself a little. Now, why does she need to center herself a little? Well, it's because that there is technically no noble Pokemon on Firespit Island. There's no lord, there's no lady, there's no nothing. And that is an issue that stems from her. That is an issue she hasn't talked about with too many people. But she says she can confide in the player. She mentions that, around the Diamond Clan and the Galaxy Team's leaders, she has to put up a strong face. She has to be a leader. But she says that she wonders, how does she end up with the burden she bears? You see, in the story, she has been friends with another Pearl Clan warden, Polina, for quite some time. They were good friends before Irida was even a leader. In fact, they were both in the running to become the Pearl Clan's leader. And Irida and Polina were very close. In fact, there's a piece of art that, dubiously canon, I like to believe it is, I think it is canon, we see Polina giving Irida the iconic red headband thing she wears, the crown, whatever you want to call it. Either way, that was a gift. They were very good friends, that much is clear. But Polina was also the warden of the previous Lord Arcanine, who passed away due to a tragic accident. And the Pearl Clan was very, very impatient to find a new leader or not find a new leader, but rather they were impatient to find a new lord for Firespit Island, for the Cobalt Coastlands. Now, Irida had to deal with this because at the time she was the leader, but she dealt with it in a rather messy way. Because of the pressure from the Pearl Clan, because of the pressure from the elders, she was kind of being pushed into doing something about it, especially because they were bad-mouthing her friend. Polina is probably the person she knows the closest at that point. She's someone she deeply cares about. Later in the game, someone suggests that Irida saw Polina as a mother figure because Irida didn't have a mother. But that's for another time. Irida does mention all this to you. This is an issue, and she dealt with it poorly. She tried to push Polina into training Lord Arcanine's child into becoming the new Lord, but obviously she's against that. Can you really push a child into doing something after seeing its father die? That's a hard question. Even Irida's not sure how to answer it. But that has left her relationship with Polina on shaky terms. It's clear that's something she deeply regrets. She seems very beat up about it. She's talking about how she has messed up a lot, but she doesn't really know how to handle this situation, especially because now her relationship with Polina is a lot more distant, a lot colder than it was before. So now what she does is she puts her faith in the player. This situation that she's been carrying on her back, the fact that she's been unable to really deal with this situation herself as the Pro Clan's leader, the fact that she's still learning how to deal with it, she's putting all of this, she's putting all her faith in the player. She is saying, I need you to help me. Can you please help her train that Growlithe into a suitable successor to Lord Arcanine? She says that if there's anyone that can do this, it is the player. It is you. That's putting a lot of faith. That's showing how much she has grown already, even if she still has growing to do. Because she went from distrusting you, completely discrediting you, to now she is putting in your hands, she's putting her faith into having you help with something that she is unable to help with. Probably the biggest issue she's had so far in being the Pro Clan's leader. She's had to deal with a lot of things, sure, but this is an issue that breaks off from being an issue with the clan. It's a personal problem that she doesn't know how to solve, and she is now a little more comfortable in asking for help. Especially with someone that she can trust as much as you, someone who stopped Lord Cleaver's frenzy, and someone who is able to at least listen to her while she talked about this. And off the player goes to speak to Polina, and that whole plotline happens. Now, she shows up again at Fire Spit Island, and when she does, a lot has happened so far. The Growlithe that was the son of the late Lord Arcanine has now evolved back into another Arcanine. Back into? Whatever. Anyways, it has evolved into Arcanine, and has been struck by the frenzy of the SpaceTime rift from above. Now, because of that, Irida shows up, and she says that we need to do something about it, and she recognizes what the player has done before. Throw bombs to calm down the Lord. She shows up and immediately provides that information. And so they do. They make the bombs, they're ready, and they fight. The player fights Lord Arcanine, they calm its frenzy, and a new Lord is put into place. Polina, before leaving, says to the player to please take care of Irida as well. She says a few other things, but that's the most important part. Despite everything, she still wants to see Irida be okay. Even if their relationship is on a bit of shaky ground, even right now when the issue has been resolved, she's still, understandably a little hurt by it. And I think Irida knows that as well. Because when you go up to Irida, she's looking somber. She's looking upset. She's not really feeling so good. She feels kind of useless, that she really didn't do that much during that fight. She just stood there and watched. And even if you say, well, no, you were able to help. You told us about the bombs, but she says that that's something that you could have done. The player could have done. That's something that anyone could have done. Is what she did really so praiseworthy? She did something so minor. But it is in that moment. She is not wallowing in pity. In fact, she's using this to push herself forward. She says that she wants to become a stronger person. She wants to become a better person. She wants to become someone who can protect Hisui, who can fight for the Pearl Clan, who can do all these sorts of things. And seeing you in action so many times, seeing the way you have selflessly come through for others, it makes her want to be able to do the same thing. She's watching the player's actions and using that to motivate herself, to push her even more forward than before. Because she's seen you do so much already. She's seen the player do all these incredible things, and just at the drop of a hat. And that tells her that that's something she can do. She wants to protect the land of Hisui. So she wants to broaden her own perspectives, her own horizons. She wants to understand the world better, because before, she was distrusting, she was cautious, and prioritize foresight, which is still something she does, but now she knows that she doesn't have to be locked to that. She could do a lot more. Now, I could talk about that part of Irida's character, that moment of growth. I could talk about that for hours, but I won't right now. There's more pressing issues to get to. Moreover, her role in the next two areas of the game. Now, her role in the Coronet Highlands isn't super intense. She introduces you to Warden Ingo, who seems to have lost his memory and is somewhat familiar to people who have played Black and White. But he's not important, and we're not talking about him because God knows everyone else on the internet will talk about him for me. No, instead, I'm going to talk about the Alabaster Icelands, which is where she makes her second appearance. Now, a noteworthy thing that happens here is when you get there, Irida isn't cold. In fact, she says she's sweating. She doesn't seem to mind the cold. Quite the opposite, actually. In fact, when you were on Firespit Island, she seemed to be rather uncomfortable with the heat. She didn't really like it. She's made a note before that she doesn't really do good in these, intensely heated environments, and now we're seeing the exact opposite. We're in these totally cold environments. She doesn't really pay much mind, but she says that she's going to take you to see her teacher, who is the warden of Lord Avalugg, Garrick. Now, Garrick is a very, 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 very physically toned man, which I think has good implications for Irida, because if she's trained under him, then obviously I think she's got some strength to her. I'm not saying she has to be ripped. I would just like to point that out. I think Irida could probably bench press a tree if she so chooses. Or if she so chose to. I'm keeping that in. I don't care. I'm super far into this recording. Anyways, she could do that if she chose to. But she introduces you to her teacher. She is very respectful to him because obviously that's someone who's taught her. That's someone who helped her become the leader she is today. But Garrick immediately dismisses the player, similar to Irida. Now, what does she do in this instance? She immediately fights for your sake. She is saying that, yes, there is a lot that you're right about, but I know we can trust the player. I know that the player hasn't done any wrong, and I know we need to do something about this, because Garrick believes that Lord Avalugg's frenzy hasn't hurt anyone, so what's the big deal? It's just a display of strength. It's a good thing. But she fights for the player. She says that, no, we need to do something, and they've shown me this. But Garrick fights you instead. Garrick loses, and he understands the play. Then, obviously, she's not there for a little bit, but you can visit the Pearl Settlement, which is nearby. That's where the Pearl Clan lives. It's the best area in the game, because Irida's there sometimes. But I'll get into that a little later. But later in this area, you fight Lord Avalugg, obviously, because your job is to quell the frenzy of the nobles. And you do defeat Lord Avalugg, you do quell its frenzy, and that's all good and done. But after it's done, Garrick seems absolutely floored by this, because how could someone do this? That's a mere child. How the hell did they defeat something as big as Lord Avalugg? He doesn't even know if you're, human. He asks, maybe you're a monster. But Irida, instead of backing down, she says, no, I'm going to fight for this person because I've seen them do incredible things before. They've risked their lives time and time and time again, all for the sake of others. They're not a monster. They're just someone who cares a lot. There's a lot she has to learn from them still, and she still wants to learn from them, and she is proud to learn from them. She stands up for you in that way. You've overcome so many things, and she finds that admirable. What you've done has inspired her to get even stronger, and not only just that, it makes her want to understand more of the world around her. Garrick to that says that Irida has grown a lot, and in that moment, he's really right. Irida has grown a lot. She's become a better person because of meeting you, meeting the player. She has been able to understand so much more about herself, about the world around her. And she's starting to, maybe become a bit more open to the people around her. Sure, she still bickers with Adamant, but that's just kind of a given at this point. And, there's still some stuff she clings onto, but again, that's some stuff that she still needs to work on. Rome wasn't built in a day, after all, but she is clearly growing and learning more as a person, and this is a really strong moment for that. It'd be really interesting if something more intense happened that would kind of show that on a more intense scale. Well, lucky for us, the very next day, when you get back and wake up the next morning, that sky is pitch red, and it turns out that the space-time rift in the sky that the player fell from is now just spilling out all across the region. And the first person to do anything about it is Commander Kamado, the commander of the Galaxy team, which you're a part of. And he calls you, Irida, and Adamant up. Although he calls Irida and Adamant to discuss the fact that all the nobles were, all their frenzies had been stopped. And his first instinct is to suspect the player of doing something wrong. They're responsible for this. After all, this only started happening when they fell from the space-time rift. And moreover, they are the only one who've had the power to stop all the nobles. They didn't stop like one or two. Every single noble's frenzy had been quelled by the player. Obviously, he's a little suspicious. Who are you? Have you been trying to get into our good graces? Both clan leaders are mad, but Irida especially is furious. How the hell could you accuse someone who has done nothing but try to save history, has tried to do a lot for people in that way? Are you heartless? Don't you care for this person? And even when, he's asked, even when, he asks Irida and Adamant, can you really trust her? What has she done? Or what has the player done? Sorry, Akari brain. What have they done? Then she says, you can't prove that. That's trying to prove a negative. That's impossible. She still fights. She still wants you to be safe. She is still there. But he doesn't budge. And you have to leave and you're exiled. And that's pretty bad, yeah. But things do look up, and Irida is involved. But it is then, at this point, that at the area you go to, the Ancient Retreat, it turns out that Adamant and Irida both had a plan. They want to help you out, even though that helping, the clans directly helping, would be a big risk, because Kamado would immediately, or at least probably immediately, go to war, because he sees that as a threat. So they both want to help you, but they can't do so directly, and it has to be one of them. Now, in this instance, you can either choose Irida, or you can choose Adamant. For the sake of this, we are going to say that you chose Irida, because she's the most important character. And why would you choose the bumbling idiot in the blue? I don't know why you would do that. That seems like a really bad play. I feel like he's just gonna mess everything up because he's an idiot who believes in time. Okay, I'm being too harsh on him. I digress. Moving on. Now, she comes along with you to help find the materials necessary to create the red chain. She can't go with you directly because that risks being seen, but if she's the one you choose, she expresses that of course you would choose her. She's done a lot for you, and in turn, you've done a lot for her, so you two already kind of have that close bond. But I think it's really sweet of her to express that, yeah, she's helped you a lot so far. Of course you would choose her, even if in a playful way. She's gone a long way from not being super confident in herself to going, yeah, I've done a lot, and she still has so much more to do, especially if she comes along with you, which she does choose to do. She joins you in helping to create the red chain, going through the various lakes, and defeating the Pokemon within. And each time she expresses amazement, not only at your skill at defeating these powerful Pokemon, but she is able to express amazement at the fact that you're able to converse with the spirits of the lake so easily, so casually, and they're able to put their trust into you as well. She finds that amazing, and she doesn't even know exactly what's going on, but she's just like, wow, that's kind of amazing. I really like that. But eventually, you do create everything needed to make the red chain. And when that does happen, you go atop the Temple of Sinnoh to defeat whatever's causing the space-time rift to go haywire, to go berserk, basically. And that's when Kamado shows up again. Kamado is still relentless in his distrust of you, but despite that, Irida steps up and says that she's disappointed in the commander as well. Doubting the player, despite everything they've done, makes him a fool. Sure, he's putting his life on the line to protect Jubilife Village and his people, which has always been his motivation in this, but so are you, so is the player. You have done all these things for the sake of Hisui as a whole. You are protecting the entire region. Why would you go to all these lengths if not to protect it if you suddenly were the cause of it? And even if you were, you have gone out of your way to try and protect it anyway. You have tried to right your wrong, if that is truly what caused it. If you were what caused it, you were trying to right that wrong. But despite that, Kamado battles, and he loses. He begs you to go and stop this. So you do, and Palkia shows up, and you catch Palkia. That's pretty cool. You catch Dialga if you chose Adamant, but again, I'm not really sure why you would do that, because that seems like a fool's choice, but I digress. But once you have fought Palkia and you've caught it, you are able to do the rest of the story. Now, when you catch Palkia, you've caught it because you need it for the fight to come. Not only that, but Palkia speaks through Irida. It has chosen Irida, the leader of the Pearl Clan, as the person to communicate with. It's not like she gets taken over, but she can hear its voice in her mind, and she communicates what it is saying back to everybody else. Once you catch it, it speaks to Irida again that the Frenzied One has come to fight, which is why Palkia arrived and challenged the player in the first place. And out of that steps Dialga, who is completely frenzied and rampaging, and is probably the one that opened up that portal. Again, real good job, Adamant. That's the one you're worshipping? Kinda lame, I don't know. It seems like a really bad call, but again, I shouldn't lay into him too hard. But despite this struggle, despite everything that's going on, you're still able to do something. Irida is able to help as well, as she and everyone else goes to collect the necessary things to create the Origin Ball, or rather to create something that could potentially capture this Frenzied One. She is a big part of this as well, and in fact she suggests bringing in other members of the Pearl Clan because she knows they'll be able to help just as much as anyone else could. So they do so. Leon comes in, they find the Stone of Creation, and she even laments the fact that the Misfortunes who show up, she expresses some surprise at seeing Coin there, because Coin was once part of the Pearl Clan a while back. Maybe the Misfortunes were worried about them, but obviously that's for another time. But after this is all said and done, the Origin Ball is created, you go back up, and she says to you that in all of space and time, your place has found you. Or in all of space, your place has found you. And she says that's an old Pearl Clan saying that says, in these dire circumstances, you have been placed into the situation that allows you to step up. This is your situation to step up, and she's had her situation to step up as well. This is your time, and she knows that, and she's leaving you with that final saying, that you can do this, and this is your time to step up. And you do. You step up, you catch Palkia, and you're able to stop everything. And Irida is amazed at this as well. Obviously, everyone is. And even when Adamant, first good choice he's made, even when Adamant makes the decision to state the fact that, yeah, I guess all of our bickering was in the past, I guess it's more of a you and me thing, they're able to recognize that, and they kind of go, yeah, this is a new era for both the clans. Their ancestors might be shocked, but this is the best path forward. That's still part of her main motivation. She wants to move Hisui forward, and, maybe she still bickers with him, but the clans will get along, and she's able to put aside those differences for the sake of Hisui. Irida has grown so much over the course of the story, but that's not even the end of her character, because there is a small post-game story called Daybreak, and in that we get some other details about her as well. But even before Daybreak, however, which I forgot to mention, there is the small post-game part with you collecting the rest of the plates, and Irida is a little present in that. In fact, she shows up when you go back to Firespit Island. You catch and battle Heatran there, you get one of the plates, but her relationship with Polina is a little more touched upon, because Polina still seems a little distrustful, but they've obviously grown a bit closer. However, she's still calling her by a nickname Polina isn't really fond of. It feels a little childish for her, and Irida's a little embarrassed because it's a force of habit for her. She's known Polina for so long, and they're on slightly better terms, even if ultimately at the end of it, it seemed that Polina was still a little upset, which is completely understandable on her part, I might add, because Polina pushes some tough love on the Irida by sending her to Firespit Island, a place that she doesn't really fit well in because of the heat. But also, more importantly, there's Request 90, the Pearl Clan's treasure. Now, in this one, Irida meets the player at the Pearl Settlement, where she asks for the player to fight them using only Palkia. You can only have Palkia in your party, because at this point you've caught Palkia. She wants to see the power of the mighty god that the Pearl Clan worshipped for herself. Not only just that, but she wants to be able to overcome the same feats that you were able to overcome. You were able to defeat and catch Palkia. And, you know, she wants to be able to do the same thing. So she's asking you for that help. She wants to be able to grow, and through that, she is asking you for that assistance. When you beat her, because you do beat her, and even if you don't beat her, she says that she knows you can really push it to its limits. She knows that that's not your best. She is encouraging you to go further beyond, to really be able to win this. So, you know, she wants to be able to grow, she wants to be able to see it, and she wants to see your best. After she's beat, she wonders if, you know, maybe there's even more people out there that are as strong as the player, maybe even stronger. She wants to be able to find out. She wants to see that world with her own eyes. You have helped her in so many ways, and she even says that people in Pokemon can coexist, and she learned that as an important lesson from somebody, from you, and she's going to hold that with her for a while. Even in Daybreak, though, we get some interesting tidbits of Irida's character. We find out that her and the Pearl Clan, or the Diamond Clan Warden Mai, are kind of close friends now, because they both have similar opinions on how Adamant seems to run the clan. What exactly that isn't really stated, but, you know, she's making friends, especially those outside of the Pearl Clan. What was initially her just completely distrusting the Diamond Clan and not really liking them as a whole, now she's making friends with someone. She made friends during the big festival that happened at the very end of the game, during the credits. So, that's her opening up her world. She's meeting new people, and she's talking. And also, it's pretty funny that they're both gossiping about Adamant like that, but even her relationship with Adamant, while they still bicker, while they still don't really seem to get along super well, it's clear that they've buried the hatchet a lot more. They're starting to become decent friends, or at least they're not arguing anytime they're together, because they understand the future of Hisui is at stake. They're becoming good friends, which is a good thing. Being able to grow past those initial experiences, Irida is able to truly become a better person, to truly understand more of the world around her, and in that she is able to understand the differences that her and Adamant have, even if they just end up being nothing more than decently good friends. She's at least able to put aside her own differences for the sake of Hisui, to at least, you know, understand them a little better, and so they can be a little more than just people who hate the shit out of each other. They still kind of do, but yeah, that's a different thing. Hell, she even asks you later to fight you with only Origin Form Palkia, using the Lustrous Globe that she gave you. She gave you a Pearl Clan treasure in Request 90, where you fight her with only regular Palkia. She gives you that as a gift, because she goes, this is important to the Pearl Clan, but because you have Palkia, I want you to have this. She's giving you something so important to the clans, and she's treating it as nothing more than just, yeah, this is a gift. I trust you with it. She is entrusting something so important to you, coming from the character who at the start of the game initially distrusted you completely. But I think that's really interesting, the fact that she's able to give that up so easily. Something so important. And she wants to see Palkia's full power, and she's able to demonstrate Palkia's power to the Diamond Clan, because you fight her near the Diamond Settlement. And she's able to really communicate to the Diamond Clan that not only is Dialga powerful, but so is Palkia as well. She's able to bring the two clans closer, because they're amazed at the power that Palkia seems to display while Irida is there. Or rather, while Irida is fighting the player. And that's something that's wonderful. But ultimately, that also pushes her to want to make not only herself, but the Diamond Clan stronger, which results in the Pearl Clan going to Jubilite Village's new training grounds, which was something that comes after Daybreak. But essentially, Irida realizes so much more, that she can become powerful, that she can spread the things she believes in, the things she cares about, she can spread it all across Hisui. She can spread it across many other places because she wants to see so much of the vast, wide space that she appreciates, that she thinks about. She wants to see it with her own eyes. Now, where am I ultimately going with all this? My point is that Irida is a very strong written character because she starts as someone who initially distrusts you, she doesn't really think about you much, but also you can tell that she's kind of fresh to her position. She's still learning a lot about it. She's still learning about the space that she inhibits, the space that she worships so much. She's learning so much more about the world, but at the time of the start of the game, she's a little more closed off. She's a little more, or closed in, I guess I should say, because, you know, she's still struggling so much with becoming the Pro Clan's leader at such a young age. She doesn't really know what she wants to do, and moreover, she's had that issue with Polina, which has caused strife in, you know, her relationship with her. That's her only friend, really speaking, and she's struggling with that, but through the player, she's able to really understand more of the world around her. She's able to understand, you know, how the Galaxy team wants to help better Hisui. She wants to understand a lot more about so many things, and she understands the path she wants to take in life. She understands that she wants to be someone who is powerful, who is a strong trainer, who shows the world so many people. She wants to show them the power of people and Pokemon together because that's something she learned from you. And I think that's really well communicated. I think, like, her scene in Fire Spit Island, I think that really communicates the fact that she puts a lot of trust in you. She spends so much of the game fighting for your sake. She talks to Commander Kamado and calls him a fool and says that, like, you can't discount the player like this. She truly does care about you, and she's truly caring about Hisui as a whole as well. She cares about its future now. She knows what she has to do. Before, she didn't have a clear path. She didn't know what she wanted to do, but now she is able to take things into her own hands as opposed to kind of leading it in an awkward, clumsy manner. Now, she is able to understand more who she is, who she wants to be. She has that motivation. She's able to push herself forward. It's all thanks to you. She thanks you every step of the way. She's constantly fighting for your sake. And that's what I think makes Irida a really strong character. The fact that she's just so... Her growth is so well communicated, and you see it in every interaction she has as she grows. Even in the later parts of the game where she's still, like, bickering with Adaman because she's still growing, you get to see that. You get to see that ultimately come to a close at the end of the game because she goes, you know what, maybe this is just us. And even in Daybreak, you see they're kind of on better terms. They're not really bickering as much, if at all. Even Masters kind of plays into that a bit, kind of indicating that they've become good friends. Masters isn't canon, but it's loosely canon. You can kind of think of it as, like, I don't really know. It is weird to describe, but, like, Masters is able to show that they're still good friends. They still do bicker, but they've become closer, they're good friends, they don't hate each other anymore. Even if they still have their disagreements, even if they still bicker, that's just how it goes. And she still holds those teachings from the person who helped her learn them in her heart. She doesn't say who it is, so it could be Akari or Ray, but just in general, Irida is able to, over the course of Pokemon Legends Arceus, grow so much as a character. We see so much of it. We see her constantly fighting for your sake. She is probably the person advocating for you the most out of any other character. Anytime that she's in range of someone who says something bad about you, she is, like, saying, no, that's not right. This is what this person has done. They've done so many things for the region. They've tried to save Hisui time and time again. And she's using that to motivate herself, to push herself forward. Because if you're able to do those things, if you're able to be there for someone like her, then she can do basically anything with her Glaceon at her side. She can push the Pearl Clan to do amazing, great things. She wants to be able to do that. And that is what I think makes her such a powerful character.